For more on this, let's bring in Florida Republican Congressman Brian Mast. He serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He's also a retired Army Ranger and will be in that hearing expected to start in the next hour or so. Congressman Mast, like so many other American service members, and thank you for your service, you lost so much in Afghanistan, both your legs to an improvised explosive device. What do you want to ask Secretary Blinken when you have the chance to question him in the next hour?
Yeah, what I lost was a scratch compared to what so many lost their lives. And what I want to know directly is he simply too arrogant to resign over all of the mistakes that occurred, over believing that the terrorists weren't going to let terrorists into the country, over jumping however high the Taliban tells them to jump, get out of the embassy, get out of Bagram, leave on this day, be intimidated, put up the white flag of surrender. There's so many questions that need to be asked about this from beginning to end, but they all revolve around the lies that the administration's been telling us.
When Secretary Blinken testified before your committee back in June, he indicated that there was nothing in the cards that would predict a precipitous collapse of the Afghan military and government. Listen to what he said back then.
We're not withdrawing. We're staying. The embassy is staying. If there is a significant deterioration in security, that could well happen. We've discussed this before. I don't think it's going to be something that happens from a Friday to a Monday.
When you hear that in retrospect, Congressman, do you have a sense that the secretary had a firm grasp on the situation there?
I have a sense of two things. Number one, that he knew exactly what was happening, but he didn't know exactly how to phrase it, because very likely at the exact same time, you had people like President Joe Biden trying to work with exiled President Ghani to go out there and manipulate the intelligence that was actually coming up through the ranks on what was really happening in Afghanistan. So I don't think he knew exactly which lie he should go out there and do. Go with the manipulated intelligence or go with what was really the truth.
As we heard in our report just a short time ago, at least when it comes to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing, which will be tomorrow, they're looking to not just focus on the last 6 weeks, they're looking to focus on the last 20 years. What do you specifically want to focus on in terms of a timeline with the secretary today?
Yeah, specifically on that timeline, we need to know, when did they decide to leave Bagram? Why? How many troops would it have taken to secure that? When and why did they decide to leave the embassy? Why did they work to the timeline of the Taliban to get or to say they were going to get people out of the country, but then not actually do so, also creating a situation where they weren't able to vet the people that were trying to take out of Afghanistan that were Afghani nationals? There's so many timeline elements to this, and it goes well beyond what I just said, but there's so many timeline elements to this that need to be answered.
More and more people, Congressman, are talking about this issue of accountability. You suggested at the top you want to hear why they haven't resigned. Do you think anybody is going to resign over this? Will anybody really be held accountable?
I think they're too arrogant to resign. They don't see as though there's any problems that they created on the globe or domestically or anywhere else. So just number one, arrogance is not going to allow them to accept any responsibility whatsoever. Do I think that they should? Absolutely. Do I think that Pelosi, Schumer, Biden, Harris, anybody else will work to have accountability? Absolutely not.
Now, when the White House and the State Department and the Pentagon talked about the pullout from Afghanistan, there was a suggestion that we're going to have, as a country, a lot of leverage over the Taliban after the pullout in order to get the Americans and eligible Afghans who are still left in the country out into at least a safe third country, if not back here to the United States. The fact that there are all these aircraft sitting on the ground in Mazar-e-Sharif and the Taliban are saying, no, they can't leave. What does that say about this idea of leverage?
We knew that they had no leverage. They were exercising no leverage when we still had service members on the ground. They didn't even have enough leverage at the time to get people that were held by the Taliban, Navy men, Mark Freese, to get him out of Afghanistan. Couldn't even get him from the Taliban and others. They couldn't get Americans out. You think about that. They didn't have the leverage to do that. And they were under this misconception that, well, the Taliban wants all this money that they're holding up in banks. The Taliban took control without any of that money. What made them think that that was going to be this giant leverage point? Give them an invitation to the UN and Davos and all these things. They were living in a pipe dream.
Yeah, well, certainly China's willing to give them a lot of money as well in an economic agreement in the future. Congressman Brian Mast, we look forward to the hearing this afternoon. Thank you again for your service and your sacrifice.
All the best.
All right.